Good morning and welcome to First Parish Brewster. It is so good to be together on this morning. My name is Reverend Jessica Clay. I'm the minister of First Parish Brewster. Happy to welcome you on this Sunday, December the 13th. We thank you for making space in your Sunday to join us in this online medium, joining us celebrating the tiny joys in our lives. Leading this service with me today is Donica Buckley, our music director, Twinks Hastings, our lifespan religious education director, Maggie Baker, who is our tech person, and Deb Selko, who's our worship associate for today. Welcome, everyone, and a special welcome to people on the phone. If you are calling in, we are trying to make this service more accessible to people on the phone, which is why we will announce things or announce who is speaking. So thank you for calling in. We're so glad you choose to worship with us in this way. A couple of announcements before we begin this morning. Many of you know we collect for our HEED fund, which is our needy fund on Christmas Eve, on our Christmas Eve service. 100% of the offertory goes to that fund. If you are someone who has been helped by this fund, we would love to have a testimonial from you for our Christmas Eve service. We would love to have you record that. If you can email me and we can have a conversation about that, that would be great. My email is revjessica@firstparishbrewster.org. Additionally, if you are not planning on attending our Christmas Eve service, which is on Christmas Eve at 4:30 p.m. using this same Zoom link, you can mail in a check to the First Parish Brewster office at 1 Harwich Road for the HEED fund, and just make it out to First Parish, but write in the subject line for the HEED fund if you want to make that donation, but you're unable to attend on Christmas Eve. We will continue Vespers each Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. for the next 2 weeks, and then we will take a bit of a break into the new year from Vespers. We have one more Friday available for sanctuary reservations. Several people have taken advantage of this. Sometimes people have brought their family. We received a picture yesterday of a family in the sanctuary. It was so nice, all masked. And so you can still reserve space in our sanctuary this upcoming Friday. You just need to email cove@firstparishbrewster.org. Additionally, who's excited about next Sunday? Let me go to gallery view so I can see who's excited. What is next Sunday? Does I hear some, I see some of this. I don't know what next Sunday is. Next Sunday is our online pageant. I know it is so sad to not be able to have this in person, which is really one of our most joyous days in our sanctuary. But Twinks Hastings and the CYM committee are working hard to make this as magical as possible, but we need some of your magic to make it happen. We're looking for animals to join us in the stable during the Christmas pageant. Please send a picture of your pet dressed up as a sheep, cow, pig, or a dragon. I'm sure you could insert other animals in there as well to join in the fun. And you can email those pictures to twinks.hastings@firstparishbrewster.org by Wednesday. So please, all pets are welcome to participate in the pageant. On a different note, many of you were saddened to hear that we lost a member of this congregation last week, Bev Kimball. I just wanted to bring to your notice that her service is going to be tomorrow at 4 p.m. The link is in the weekly angle, but because sometimes not everyone reads the angle, I wanted to announce it so that everyone who wants to attend, she was very well loved in this congregation, is able to, tomorrow at 4 p.m. If you are visiting us this morning, welcome. We are so glad you're here. Please identify yourself in the chat and tell us where you're visiting from. After our call to worship, the chat will be turned off until Joys and Concerns, when it will be turned back on, and then it will be off after Joys and Concerns until the end of the service. I know we like to express our accolades during the service, but this is a way to let people be a little bit more present. And if you have someone you would like to appreciate for this service, please do email them after the service. Or cards are always welcome, of course, too. Lastly, is your chalice handy? If not, go ahead and go get it. And we do have captions available. You just need to click on the caption button on the bottom of your screen if that would help you to hear or read what is going on in the service and access the service a little better. So ends our announcements this morning. Welcome to First Parish Brewster's Sunday service. Welcome to Celebrating Tiny Joys. We are so glad you are here.
Good morning. I'm Deb Selko. Jessica has asked me to offer the call to worship in this December service that asks us to think about the tiny joys in our lives that have been made so complicated and challenging this year. You probably know me best as one of those faces singing at you virtually from the Zoom screen with our choir. But if you remember me from those long ago days when the choir sang from the front of the sanctuary, you know that singing gives me great joy. This morning, however, asks us to pay attention to the tiny things that offer us an ah moment, even now. Not long ago, my husband Stan and I walked through the marsh at Crosby Beach just as the sun reached that low point in the afternoon sky and spread golden light across the world. There's a turn in the path near some low juniper bushes where we always pause to look for sparrows in the winter, bluebirds in the spring. Where the path bends, people have piled large rocks, creating a cairn of smooth stones, and strategically nestled right on the top are 3 tiny painted stones. One is a heart, one is a tiny green car, and the third is a beautiful miniature Cape Cod landscape of a tiny white lighthouse surrounded by grass and ocean and sunset. We stopped there. In tiny brush strokes, someone has patiently painted these miniatures and placed them as an offering for walkers to discover. This is what it looks like. Ah, yes, this here, now. Years ago, I had the amazing opportunity to accompany a group of coming-of-age teenagers on an overnight retreat in the woods. It was a crisp October night, and we'd gathered outside beside a lake, resting our backs against the wooden dock that had been hoisted onto the shore. Far from the city lights, the sky was deep black, and the stars, so precisely cut and clear, demanded that we look up. One by one, everyone stopped talking and leaned back to see and be with the night sky. Ah, yes, this, here, now. I was the one who broke the silence, feeling a need to name what was happening. Take it in, I told them. Pause. Take a picture in your head. Freeze frame this moment so that you will be able to call it back when you need it. That remains a moment that I have called back countless times when I need comfort and beauty. There are so many tiny joys in my life. The warmed cup of hot chocolate shared with my neighbor outside on my deck. The afternoons are cold, and yet we can still meet briefly as long as the sun pours down warmth and the wind is still. The tiny merganser out on the pond that ducks and bobs and takes no notice of the temperature of air or water. The Kemp's Ridley turtle that my husband rescued from the beach at Crow's pasture in the middle of last week's snow. He carried it gently, supporting its head, and delivered it to the Audubon rescue car. And odds are really good that having washed ashore and been rescued, it will survive and be released next spring. The crisp sheets and warm duvet that wrap my body through the cold night, and the tiny black paws of my daughter's 2 cats that reach under my door each morning, announcing they are ready to eat. Every morning, before I feed the cats, I roll out my yoga mat, turn on the music, and salute the sun. Mine is a 13-minute daily practice that allows me the flexibility to keep moving through each day. At the end of the routine, After my always shaky tree pose, and after I bow to the four directions, I pause. Standing straight and still at the top of my mat, I slowly raise my arms, gathering in all that is good this morning, all that is mine, all that makes me grateful to be alive. Ah, here, this, now. Thank you. Will you please join me now as I light the chalice in the hope that we all can remember to pause and notice and name all of the tiny joys for which we are so grateful.
This is Twinks Hastings, Director of Lifespan Religious Education, talking. As we light our Advent candles in this, the season of waiting, may they remind us to be fully present with ourselves and with each other. Our first candle reminds us of hope, our second of peace, and today's candle reminds us of joy. As we light our third candle, may we be reminded of the joy that can make our world beautiful. Joy can be found even in the hardest of times, like a global pandemic or the disconcerting political times we live in. Joy can be found on the face of a baby, on the smile of a face in a Zoom box, in a late blooming flower, or a group of turkeys on the lawn. Help us to spread the joy in our hearts to those who are suffering, so that they might find a seed of joy in this season. This is also the season of Hanukkah, and we're now going to hear from Chuck Madansky and Wilderness Sairchild.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Hanukkah. Hanukkah started on Thursday evening, so this evening will be the fourth night of Hanukkah. And every day we light one more candle until we've lit eight. So we're going to light 4 today because this is the fourth evening. And the 5th candle that you see there is called the Shamus, and Chuck will explain that to you.
Shamus is just Hebrew for helper, and so these other candles that represent the nights are going to be lit by this particular one that's already lit. That's the Shamus candle. All right. Wilderness is going to light the candles, and we're going to sing. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Asher kiddushanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Hanukkah.
Blessed art thou, Creator of the universe, for whom we kindle the Hanukkah lights.
Happy Hanukkah, everybody.
Happy Hanukkah.
I'm Donica Buckley, the music director. Ma'ozer, which means stronghold of rock in Hebrew, is a popular Hanukkah song that is often sung after reciting the Hanukkah blessings and lighting the menorah. It is also a favorite song in synagogue religious schools, where children will sometimes put on a holiday performance for their parents and family in celebration of Hanukkah. Ma'ozer is a liturgical poem called a piyut. The first letters of the first 5 stanzas form an acrostic, meaning they spell the poet's name, Mordecai. The poem is believed to have originated in 13th century Europe and is usually sung to the tune of an old German folk song. The first stanza, which is the one that is usually sung on Hanukkah, thanks God for his protection. The 5th verse retells the story of Hanukkah, saying, "The Greeks gathered against me. They broke down the walls of my towers and defiled all the oils. But from the last remaining flask, a miracle was wrought. I first learned this song from the cantor at the synagogue in Hyannis many years ago, and he came and taught it to my students and to me at Cape Cod Academy. And I have treasured this song ever since, and I think that this is a beautiful arrangement.
Now we will have a prayer. Following the prayer, we will have silence followed by meditation on breathing, sung by Donica Buckley. But to begin, we will have our prayer this morning is from Reverend Dr. Kendall Gibbons. So I invite you to settle into your seat. If you have something in your hands, to set it down. If you're doing something, set it aside for a moment. Our theme this month is stillness. So I invite you into a few moments of stillness together, just to be present with each other. Present to your own breathing. Present to your body this morning. Reverend Dr. Kendall Gibbons writes, "My friends, we gather at this festive season to celebrate the beauty and community and the life-giving cycles of Earth. We take this hour of the week to come into the presence of that holy energy at the heart of creation that nurtures our spirits and summons us to generosity, mercy, and creativity in the work of our days. It is all very lovely. But there is danger too in the presence of the holy. For us to seek the comforts of community without also confronting its ugliness is to ask for unjust privilege. Until this past July, the federal government of the United States had not executed anyone for 17 years. Our nation was in danger of joining the civilized world in renouncing the practice of capital punishment. Under the current Attorney General, William Barr, 10 executions of federal prisoners have been carried out this year, one of them the day before yesterday, and 3 more are scheduled for the month of January before the inauguration of President-elect Joe Biden. While the current president flaunts the use of his arbitrary power to pardon his cronies and supporters from any accountability to the rule of law, some of the most miserable lives our society has produced are ended in an equally arbitrary vengeance and powerlessness, without dignity or pity or hope. Thomas Jefferson, well aware of the sharp paradoxes between the ideals of new state he helped to found and some of its degraded practices, once wrote, "Indeed, I tremble for my country when I reflect that God is just and that his justice cannot sleep forever." Although the death penalty is less popular in the public will than ever before, the most compassionate and skilled legal minds of our day have found no way to stop this wave of judicial murder. Those already condemned in a system corrupted by race, wealth, and privilege will die in our names. The evil we cannot prevent, we must at least name and bear witness to. Our inability to bend the wheels of power and the common will to mercy is a failure that must be confessed if we who believe in freedom are to find rest. Our helplessness to create justice and restoration in the aftermath of great wrong and suffering attests to our lack of energy, creativity, compassion, and will. Holy wisdom, we stand before the judgment of history in brokenness, sorrow, and shame. We have not yet healed the most grievous cruelties of our social structure, even though the examples of others has shown it can happen. Teach us again the understanding of our universalist forebears, that humanity is not separable into the righteous and the unworthy. Let us hear deeply the testimony of our brother Brian Stevenson, that each of us is more than the worst thing we have ever done. Hear us as we lift up the names of Daniel Lewis Lee, Wesley Ira Perky, Dustin Lee Honkin, Lesmond Mitchell, Keith Dwayne Nelson, William Emmett LaCroix, Christopher Andre Vialva, Orlando Hall, Brandon Bernard, and Alfred Bourgeois, and the victims of the crimes for which they were condemned. Move us to think with compassion of Lisa Montgomery, Corey Johnson, and Dustin John Higgs as the weeks unfold until they are scheduled to die at the hands of the government whose citizens we are. Spirit of love, as we prepare to celebrate the birth of a teacher who came to announce good news to the poor, to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives and recovery of sight to the blind, to set free all who are oppressed. Renew us in the vision of beloved community from which no soul is excluded or left to suffer alone. Let us resolve to be the ones who proclaim healing, new sight, and liberation to those who have walked too long in evil, and remove the hand of the executioner from the workings of our common life. Today, as we kindle the many lights of this holiday season, let us share a moment of solemn stillness for those to whom the good news has not and will not come. On this fourth day of Hanukkah, let us rededicate ourselves to a larger and more inclusive, joyful liberation, that we may each be a vessel of light and a song of joy to the world. Amen.
When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love.
Thank you, Danica. Next, we have a message, a holiday message from the President of the Unitarian Universalist Association, Reverend Susan Frederick Gray.
Greetings, Unitarian Universalists. For so many reasons, this holiday season is different than any in memory. Dearly held traditions that bring us joy are pared down, virtual, or canceled altogether. Many of us are tired and grieving. We have lost too many loved ones this year: elders, mentors, family, friends. This is true in our personal lives, it is true in our congregations, and it is true for our faith as a whole. And grief always weighs heavier in the holidays, especially in a year such as this. One of the things that is keeping me grounded these days is remembering to stay in the present rather than dwelling on what cannot be. I welcome grief, yes. I welcome the emotions present in my heart and in my life, yes. And I stay present and open to what is before me today. The gift of sky, of sun, of earth, of stars, of life, of friends and loved ones. It is a challenge to shift my perspective away from what is missing, but when I do, when I'm able to stay in the present and let go of longing for what has been in the past, I find that there is a powerful yes waiting in this moment. A yes in a year full of negation and despair, an affirmation that the world is calling forth from us in this great season of turning, in this season of generosity and goodwill and peace. There is a yes. May we in this season, unlike any before, invite gratitude for the gifts that have emerged and continue to be present this year. We witness what can happen when people help one another and prioritize community over the self. We have become connected in ways new and different, ways that have allowed more people to connect to community and ministry. And at a time that has presented profound challenges, our communities have grown strong in both spirit and in faith. Instead of focusing on what cannot be, may we create new practices of gratitude and meaning that reflect the generosity, the humanity, and the compassion that are needed in our world today and that are needed to foster more love and more justice for the future. And may all of you, each of you, may we all find time to slow down this season and set aside the pressure and hecticness that is so often a part of the holidays. That has never been particularly helpful. So this year, when so much has been asked of us again and again, we all need and deserve rest. May you have rest this season. As I sit in the beautiful darkness of this season, I am reminded that life is nurtured in darkness, that seeds take root in the darkness of the soil, that babies are formed in the dark of the womb. The world is asking something new of us, and something new can be born from this time. And as we light candles, like we always do in this season, in ritual and celebration, let us embrace the mystery and the possibility of this very special time. In this season, I send you my love, my prayers, my care, and so many, many blessings to each and every one of you.
Now is the time in the service where we collect for our split plate. Each Sunday when we collect our offertory, we have a practice of splitting the plate with a worthy organization. Half of the money collected goes to the work of First Parish, and half this week is going to the organization known as the New Georgia Project. As I said last week, Carol Deanna, who is in charge of the split plate, and I decided to change the split plates in December for these first 2 weeks to try to pick out local organizations in Georgia that were working on getting out the vote. And so this is one such organization. The New Georgia Project is a nonpartisan effort to register and civically engage Georgians. Georgia's population is growing and becoming increasingly diverse. And this project is working on getting out the vote to that diversity. We will watch a short video on the New Georgia Project, followed by our pianist, Anna Glig, playing a musical offering during our offertory. There are several ways you can give this morning. You can text to give. The number will be in the chat box. You can mail in a check to the chat box, or you can donate online at our website. We do ask you for this week, if you are mailing in your check, to please do so ASAP so that we can get these checks out to the New Georgia Project and the split plate from last week before we all go on holiday break. This morning, we thank you for your generosity. We thank you for the many ways you choose to share your resources with this congregation. The offertory will now be gratefully received.
And I come to ask you to go all out. Just see what a power you can be. Let us march on ballot boxes. And that is to go out to vote. For this is the way we are going to straighten up the South and the nation. Let us march on ballot boxes until men and women will no longer walk the streets in search for jobs that do not exist. Walk together, children. Don't you get weary. One day, Georgia will be a better state.
This is our Georgia, where the ordinary accomplished the extraordinary, and a new American story was written. This is our Georgia. We don't wait for change. We are the change. We keep climbing to the mountaintop and always set another seat at the table of brotherhood. This is our Georgia. We honor the sacrifices of the past, carry their work forward, Because democracy doesn't stand still. It must be protected, fought for, practiced every day.
Let us march on ballot boxes until brotherhood is more than a meaningless word at the end of a prayer, but the first order of business on every legislative agenda. Let us march on ballot boxes.
Every voice counts.
Every vote counts.
Every voice
must be heard.
must be heard.
Este es mi futuro.
This is my future.
This is my Georgia.
This is my Georgia.
This is my Georgia.
This is my Georgia.
How about you?
¿Y tú?
Are you in?
Are you in?
Next up, we will have videos from the congregation sharing what their tiny joys are. Thank you to all who sent in videos.
Hi. Something that sparks joy for me at this Christmas time, besides poinsettias, is this little dolly that I made for my littlest grandbaby, Naomi. And she has a little backpack. See her little backpack? So I hope that my 1.5-year-old grandbaby will like her little dolly for Christmas.
This brings us joy.
This is our Provincetown Christmas ornament that has our wedding anniversary engraved on the back.
Thanks, Reverend Jessica, for the opportunity to think about the tiny joys in my life. And I realize there are many. And one is this little card that stands in my hutch. I have a very small house, and it reminds me it's okay to have a small house.
Hi, my name is Raj Smith, and I'd like to tell you a little bit about something that brings me joy. It's this little turtle. A number of years ago, I blew out my knee, and I was hobbling around in church on crutches, and Marilyn Watson Edsel handed me one of these saying, "You need some patience," because the healing process was taking a very long time. And she handed this to me, and I have been able to rub it ever since when I felt as though I needed a little patience. I was so taken by this gesture that I bought 10 more of these turtles, and I've been handing them out to people who I felt would benefit by patience, including during the pandemic. So that is a favor that I've tried to pass forward ever since Marilyn helped me out a number of years ago.
Bringing me joy is this little puppy here. This little puppy. This is Roseanne, and And as you can see, I'm getting all Christmasified. And some of my Christmas joys are things that are hanging on my string of lights, my ornaments. I don't have a tree. And then I have a snow globe with Santa, and it says hope, which I think we all need this time of year. And then I have this wonderful reindeer who just lost his pine cone. And I got it at a Yankee swap last year, which there will be none of this year because we can't get close enough to swap. And that is my joy. My other joy is singing Christmas carols, which I will do in some way, shape, or form. I'm not singing with the choir this year. I will miss that, but I will enjoy watching the choir virtually. Okay, that's it for now. Bye.
This is what brings me joy.
What brings me joy is my Carlton Pudge Fisk bobblehead. This commemorates Game 6 of the 1975 World Series game between the Boston Red Sox and the Cincinnati Reds, when in the 12th inning, Carlton Pudge Fisk did a walk-off home run. October 22nd, 12:34 in the morning. Really cold. It was really cold. I mean, here's my ticket. I was there. Unfortunately, it was so cold, I left in the 8th inning. What brings me joy is my Carlton Pudge Fisk bobblehead. This commemorates Game 6 of the 1975 World Series game between the Boston Red Sox and the Cincinnati Reds, when in the 12th inning, Carlton Pudge Fisk did a walk-off home run. October 22nd, 12:34 in the morning. Really cold. It was really cold. I mean, here's my ticket. I was there. Unfortunately, it was so cold, I left in the 8th inning.
Here I am outside my house on a cold, windy December day and spitting snow a little bit in the wind, but that's okay because I have something out here that brings me joy and hopefully joy to people that walk by. And that's a plastic penguin I keep in front of the house and move him around. It's out there all year. And I occasionally get a nice little comment about it. And I'm kind of happy when that happens. So anyhow, here's my penguin. Dressed up for the holiday.
My tiny joy this week was having a chainsaw to cut up this tree that fell on our house.
It brings me a lot of joy to bring out this little Santa on a gondola at Christmas.
The little joys I want to share today are in a printer's tray in my guest room. I'll move in closer so you can see. Some of these are from my childhood. Some of these are from my son's childhood. Some of these are just favorites. Some are little gifts from friends. But they're all nestled in here in their little spaces, sort of like a little joy Zoom. Good morning.
Hi, my name's Judy Jolette. What gives me joy is playing music with my friends, even when it's cold and we're out in the garage.
Happy holidays! Merry Christmas!
Throwing the frisbee with my son gives me joy.
My tiny joy is my first cup of coffee every morning.
Okay, let's see it.
Hello there. What makes tiny joy for me is, you see, this is going to be an elephant with its baby, is a latch hooking so far. I've gotten there slowly, but as you can see if you can, I already started on my latch hooking, which is here. I've done this and that. Still a long ways to go, but I love the latch hook. That brings me joy. So that is what brings me joy.
Hey. Hey, you're a simple pleasure.
A sweet square of sunshine on the wall this morning.
Homemade chocolate chip cookies.
My small joy is waking up every morning and having a cup of Barry's tea. It was named after my grandmother, Elizabeth Barry, and I also drank tea in the afternoons with my own mother. And today, December 13th, is the 20-year anniversary of her passing. And every time I have a cup of tea, I think of her and I miss her dearly.
This gives me lots of joy and peace. Hi, I'm Linda Laddick. And speaking of little joys, I am wearing some. And here are some other little tiny joys, part of my troll collection. Happy holidays.
Wasn't that just lovely? So lovely. I feel like I don't need to preach a sermon after that because I feel like we got one from all of you all. So thank you for sending in those videos. And if you didn't send in a video, I hope that you make space to notice joy in these times and share it with another. Barack Obama recently said the following in a Times article that a member of this congregation sent me, so thank you for that. He said, I think whether you're talking about art or politics or just getting up in the morning and trying to live your life, it's useful to be able to seek out that joy where you can find it and operate on the basis of hope rather than despair. We all have different ways of coping, but I think that the sense of optimism I have relied on is generally the result of appreciating other people first and foremost, my own children and my family and friends, but also the voices I hear through books and that you hear through song that tell you you're not alone. So good people of First Parish Brewster UU, my hope for you in this time is that you're able to go towards joy to go towards spiritual practices, to make space for stillness in your life, to celebrate this community and also grieve what a year this has been. There is room in our hearts and our bodies for this. In making that space and cultivating stillness, going towards joy and cultivating connection right now, this will ensure that in the year to come, you will be ready to continue to speak up against oppression, continue to do the work of dismantling white supremacy, the work of speaking up for what is right and what our values call us to. But right now, in this moment, I invite you to cultivate joy, cultivate spiritual practices, and cultivate stillness. That's your invitation in this moment, whatever that looks like for you. May you make space for this and be curious about what emerges. May you remember and go towards your favorite things in the days and weeks ahead. May this service remind you of some of them, and as you go about your day and move about the spaces you inhabit, may you notice them and share them with another. Share that joy with another. Make space for stillness and cultivate curiosity, my friends. Know that you are loved beyond measure, and we will get through this together. Go enjoy, dear ones. Amen.